The July sun beat down on my parents' backyard as smoke rose from the grill. My brother Derek stood there like a king, flipping burgers with exaggerated flair, while his wife Brooke documented everything on her phone for social media. Their twin girls, both wearing designer sundresses that cost more than my monthly grocery budget, ran circles around the yard. My son Ethan, 8 years old, tugged at my sleeve. "Mom, can I have a burger? I'm really hungry." I smiled down at him. "Of course, honey. Let's go ask Uncle Derek." We walked over to the grill where Derek was holding court, telling Dad and our cousin Nathan about his latest expansion. He'd opened a 4th luxury car dealership last month and hadn't stopped talking about it since. "Uncle Derek," Ethan said politely, "can I please have a burger?" Derek looked down at my son, then at me, then back at Ethan. His expression shifted into something I'd seen too many times before, pity mixed with contempt. "These burgers are for families who actually contribute," he said loudly enough for everyone nearby to hear. "Not for people who just show up expecting a free meal." The backyard went quiet. Dad looked uncomfortable but said nothing. Mom busied herself with the coleslaw. Brooke laughed, that high-pitched giggle she used whenever Derek said something cruel. Nathan just shook his head and walked away. Aunt Diane nodded from her lawn chair, setting down her wine glass with a disapproving click. "Derek has a point, dear. You really should think about contributing more to these gatherings. When are you going to get serious about your life, instead of whatever it is you do in that little condo?" Uncle Richard chimed in, walking over from the beverage table with his characteristic smirk. "My financial advisor was just telling me about wealth-building strategies last week. Real portfolio diversification. Maybe if you'd made better choices earlier in life, you could actually bring something to the table. It's never too late to start being useful." Derek flipped another burger, clearly enjoying the audience. Some people just don't have the drive. Not everyone can build a successful business. It takes vision, dedication, real sacrifice. Some people just drift. Ethan's hand tightened in mine. I could feel him trying not to cry. My 8-year-old son was learning what it felt like to be looked down on by his own family. "I understand," I said quietly. I took the paper plate from Ethan's hand and set it on the table. "Come on, sweetheart. Let's go home." "But I'm hungry," Ethan whispered. "I know. We'll get something on the way." As we walked toward the gate, I heard Derek call out, "Don't forget the family pitch-in for Mom's anniversary gift." "Oh, wait, that's only for people who actually contribute financially." More laughter. I kept walking, my hand on Ethan's shoulder. In the car, Ethan finally let the tears fall. "Why doesn't Uncle Derek like us?" "It's complicated, honey. Is it because we don't have a big house like his?" I gripped the steering wheel tighter. "Uncle Derek doesn't understand everything about our life, and that's okay." We stopped at a diner on the way home, one of those classic chrome and vinyl places that served breakfast all day. Ethan ordered a burger and fries, extra pickles, and I watched him eat, thinking about the past 6 years. About the choices I'd made that my family considered failures. About the late nights they knew nothing about, the conference calls at midnight with Singapore and Zurich. About the negotiations and acquisitions that happened in boardrooms they'd never see. Ethan wiped ketchup from his chin. "This is a really good burger, Mom. Better than Uncle Derek's would have been." He grinned. "Way better." That smile made everything worth it. That night, after I put Ethan to bed, I sat in my small living room with a cup of tea. The condo was quiet, humble, nothing impressive by my family's standards, but it was ours, and it was exactly what I needed it to be. At 11:55, my phone buzzed. A text from Derek. "Just so we're clear, you embarrassed me today walking out like that in front of everyone. Remember who co-signed your lease when you were trying to start that little consulting thing 6 years ago? Remember who believed in you when nobody else did? You owe me some gratitude." I stared at the message for a long moment. The consulting thing, that's what he called it 6 years ago. When I'd asked for help starting my financial strategy firm, Derek had laughed in my face. I'd gone to him because I'd always looked up to him, my successful older brother. "You, a strategist?" he'd said. "You barely finished your degree. Who's going to take financial advice from you?" When I needed an office lease, the landlord required a cosigner. Derek eventually agreed, but only after making me beg. Only after holding it over my head at every family gathering. He signed the papers, convinced I'd fail within a year, and that he'd never actually have to pay anything. What Derek didn't know was what happened 8 months after he co-signed that lease. I opened my laptop and pulled up the files I'd been reviewing earlier that evening. Bank documents, transfer papers, ownership records. Then I typed my response. Derek, I appreciate you bringing up the lease. I've been meaning to discuss that with you. I'm attaching the bank ownership transfer documents. As of 16 months ago, I own Pacific Trust Bank, the same bank that holds your dealership loans for all 4 locations, the same bank that financed your expansion. I also hold the mortgage on Mom and Dad's house, which you refinanced last year for your 3rd dealership. Check your email. I hit send and attached the documents. Then I sent a second message. Also attached. The loan default notice that will be sent to you tomorrow morning. You're 4 days late on your payment for the 4th dealership. The grace period ended yesterday. As the new owner, I've implemented stricter policies. My phone rang immediately. Derek. I didn't answer. Instead, I forwarded him another document. The purchase agreement from 16 months ago when I'd bought Pacific Trust Bank through my investment firm. The same bank he'd been using for years, never knowing who really owned it. My phone exploded with calls. Derek, Brooke, Dad. I silenced it and sent one more email. This one went to the bank's senior loan officer, copying Derek. Please proceed with the standard late payment protocol for Derek Thompson's commercial accounts. A 4-day late notice has been issued. The next step is the formal default process and potential acceleration of the full loan amount. He has 96 hours to bring all accounts current, including penalties. The calls kept coming. I made myself another cup of tea. Finally, at 12:30, I answered Derek's call. What the hell is this? He shouted before I could say hello. You own the bank? That's impossible. You're a consultant. You live in a tiny condo. I am an acquisition strategist, I said calmly. My firm, Meridian Acquisition Group, handles portfolio management for several major technology firms. We purchased Pacific Trust 16 months ago as part of a larger investment strategy. This is insane. You can't do this to family. Do what, Derek? Enforce standard banking policies? You're late on your payment by 4 days. There's always a grace period. There was. It ended yesterday. The new ownership implemented stricter protocols last quarter. You would have known this if you'd read the notices we sent, or if you'd bothered to ask me about my actual career instead of calling it that little consulting thing. Brooke's voice shrieked in the background. Tell her about the social media post. Tell her we'll ruin her reputation. I took a sip of tea. Derek, you're currently in default on $520,000 in business loans. Your dealerships are leveraged at 93%. If I call the loans, you'll lose everything in about 6 weeks. I suggest you focus on making your payment rather than social media threats. You wouldn't do that. We're family, I repeated. Is that what you told Ethan today when you said burgers were only for families who contribute? When you humiliated an 8-year-old child at a family barbecue? Silence on the other end. Here's what's going to happen, I continued. You have 96 hours to make your payment plus late fees. That's $18,400. After that, we proceed with standard default protocols. I don't have that kind of cash right now. Everything's tied up in inventory. Then you should have made your payment on time. Please, Derek said, and I heard something I'd never heard from him before. Fear. Can't you just extend the grace period? For family? The same family that mocked my son today? The same family that spent 6 years reminding me that you co-signed my office lease? Speaking of which, I paid that lease off 5 years ago, but you enjoyed holding it over my head too much for me to mention it. Dad's voice came through the phone. Derek must have put it on speaker. Sweetheart, be reasonable. Derek made a mistake today. He'll apologize. Will he, Dad? Because you stood right there when he refused to feed your grandson. You said nothing. Mom's voice followed, tearful. We didn't know it would hurt Ethan's feelings. You're being vindictive. I'm being a banker. If Derek were any other client, he'd already be in formal default. I'm giving him 96 hours as a courtesy. What do you want? Derek asked. An apology? Fine. I'm sorry I said that to Ethan. Happy now? I don't want anything, Derek. I want you to pay your loan on time like the contract requires. Whether you apologize to Ethan is between you and your conscience. I could hear Brooke crying in the background, Dad trying to negotiate, Mom asking how this happened. Uncle Richard's voice joined the chaos. This is extortion. I know lawyers. Excellent, I said. Have them review the loan documents. They'll confirm that everything I'm doing is completely legal and standard banking practice. In fact, Derek received preferential treatment for the past 16 months because I instructed the loan department not to flag his account for special attention. That courtesy ends now. I hung up and blocked their numbers for the night. I needed sleep. The next morning, I woke to 68 missed calls and 37 text messages. I ignored them all and made Ethan breakfast. Pancakes, his favorite. "Are you okay, Mom?" he asked, studying my face. "I'm perfect, honey. Eat your breakfast." At 9 o'clock, my phone rang from a number I didn't recognize. I answered. "This is Michael Stern, attorney for Derek Thompson. We need to discuss these loan acceleration threats." "Mr. Stern, there are no threats. There is a contract that your client signed and standard banking policies that apply to all borrowers. Derek is in default. He has 89 hours remaining to cure that default. My client tells me you're his sister. This is a clear conflict of interest. I'm the owner of the bank. My brother is a borrower. There's no conflict. If anything, he's received preferential treatment. That ends now. 89 hours, Mr. Stern." I hung up. At 10, the bank's senior loan officer called. "Miss Reynolds, we've received several calls from Derek Thompson's attorney. How would you like us to proceed?" "Standard protocol. No exceptions. If he doesn't cure the default within the specified time, we initiate acceleration proceedings on all 4 loans." "Understood. Also, we received his payment this morning. $18,400, wire transfer at 9:45. I smiled. "Good. Please confirm receipt and update his account status. And James, from now on, Derek Thompson gets the same treatment as any other commercial borrower. No special consideration, of course." "Will you be coming to the board meeting this afternoon?" "Yes, I need to review the Q3 projections." After I hung up, I sat quietly for a moment. Derek had found the money, probably borrowed it from Dad or sold something. It didn't matter. He'd paid. My phone buzzed. A text from a new number. "Your mother is very upset. This isn't who you are," I responded. "This is exactly who I am. You just never bothered to ask." 3 days later, I received a formal letter via certified mail, an apology from Derek to Ethan, carefully worded, probably written by his lawyer. It meant nothing, but it was something. 2 weeks after that, at Mom's birthday dinner, the family was different, quieter. Derek and Brooke arrived late and left early. Nobody asked about my condo or my job. Nobody made comments about Ethan's future. When Ethan asked Uncle Derek if he could have a piece of cake, Derek said yes immediately and cut him an extra-large slice, small victories. That night, as I tucked Ethan into bed, he said, "Uncle Derek was nicer today." Yes, he was. "Did you talk to him?" "In a way, good," Ethan said, yawning. "I like it better when people are nice." I kissed his forehead. "Me too, sweetheart, me too." Later in my home office, I reviewed the bank's quarterly reports. Pacific Trust was performing above projections. The acquisition had been one of my best decisions, not because of Derek, but because it was a solid investment that would help secure Ethan's actual future. The future my family had mocked at a barbecue. The future I'd been building in silence while they assumed I was failing. My phone buzzed. An email from Nathan, my cousin, who'd walked away from the grill that day. "I heard what happened. Good for you. Derek needed to learn that lesson. Also, my tech company is looking for an acquisition strategist for a merger we're planning. Any chance you're taking new clients?" I smiled and typed back, "Send me the details. I'd be happy to review them." The next family gathering would be interesting, but that was fine. I'd spent 6 years being underestimated. I could handle being respected or feared. Either worked. What mattered was that Ethan would never again be told he didn't belong, because his mother had been building that belonging the whole time. One acquisition at a time, one investment at a time, while they were too busy judging to notice. Sometimes the quietest person in the room is the most powerful. They just choose not to announce it until absolutely necessary. And refusing a hungry child a burger at a family barbecue? That was absolutely necessary. I pinned a question in the comments. Have you ever been underestimated by your own family? What did you do when they finally realized who you really were? Go to that pinned comment and tell me your story. I want to hear it. And if this story reminded you of a woman who built something powerful in silence while everyone around her assumed she was failing, stay close to She Chose Hezerlf. Every voice here helps another woman believe that the quietest person at the table might be the one who owns it.